confidants, back to another episode of Confidently Insecure, the podcast where we are absolutely sure we don't know everything. And I'm really excited. Oh my gosh, there's a fly behind you.
Oh my God.
We'll just let it kind of fly around, and when it
Okay.
comes close, I'll fucking karate kid grab it.
It's my smelly feet. That's what it is.
Gabi did just take her
I
shoes
just
off.
took my shoes off and I just walked here.
My guest today is Gabi Conti.
Hi.
Hi, Gabi.
Hi, Kelsey.
How do we explain how we known each other? I've known you for a while. Since what? Like 2014?
13, 14.
It's been a hot minute. And you're here to... Goddamn microphone. You're here today to talk about a little experimente you just did where you did 30 dates in 3 days.
I did.
And now this article you wrote, was it a video too?
It was an article and a video. The video just came out. That's why it's getting a ton of press right now.
Blowing the fuck up because people are like, why would you fucking do that to yourself? And I was like, when I saw it and I read it, it's great, by the way. I was like, of course you would fucking do this. Like, I've known you for all these years. Like, this sounds like fun for you.
Oh, it was
like,
so fun.
You're a psychopath.
I know I'm a psychopath. I definitely am. When it comes to dating, I am like a serial dater or Olympic level dater, I've been called, which I think that sounds better, right?
Yeah, that makes it sound prestige.
Very prestige.
One of a kind.
Yes.
You're also releasing a book coming out. When is it? Next year?
It comes out in, next year. It's in May, but the pre-order link's available now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Link in bio.
You can just order it.
Go buy it. Or go order it. It's called The 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s.
Yes.
And this is like totally full circle moment for me because when we when we started becoming
we
friends.
had a friendship hiatus.
It's
okay.
Yeah,
we're back.
We're back now. Yeah. When I started working at BuzzFeed, I became what's like the opposite of an incel that like doesn't leave her job, like a mole person.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, and I didn't see the light of day for 3 years, but now we're back.
Now you're back. You are. Hi.
But when we were like first met, you were like, I'm gonna write this book, and I was like, okay, everyone in LA, every comedian says they're gonna write a book, like blah blah blah, and here we are.
I wrote the book.
You wrote the fucking book. Not only did you write it, it's being published.
Yes.
And more importantly, to make it about me, I'm in it.
You are in it. And that's like why I reached out to you again, because as I was writing and like reliving my 20s, you were such an integral part of my 20s.
I don't know if like a good integral part or
actually a really good integral part, because you helped me get out of a very toxic relationship.
That's true. Okay, I do remember that. Well, you know what's funny? When I think back of our like crazy years, we were fucking crazy.
We were insane.
Like us two at a bar.
It was just like hide your boyfriends.
Oh my God. And you also went through my surgery with me.
Yeah,
like you watched me be two different, like literally look like two different people. Like pre-hot Kelsey and then like decent looking Kelsey. You've seen me with like my anxiety attacks. Like those years I think of as like the wildest, crazy, most fun, but also like we have lived 3 lives.
3 lives. I think that's what your 20s are about, especially when you're single in your 20s and you don't like settle down. You go through this whole roller coaster of like different personalities, different lives, different boyfriends, girlfriends, like whatever.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that too. Do you recall how the toxic relationship you spoke about began? Like give us because I didn't think I was going to talk about that, but like
that's where we went.
Yeah, but
here we are.
See, my microphone is like doing a life of its own today. Let's see if we can make it. Just see if it stays.
I think it's gonna.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Get closer.
Just get closer to
Okay.
it. All right.
Hi, listeners.
Well, the toxic relationship. So you met me at the point where like it was so obvious to everyone that I needed to get out of the relationship that my friends at the time were like over it. They just like weren't talking to me anymore. Yeah. And it took you, a new friend who was like, I'm so confident and like knew nothing about it. You're like, this is what you're gonna do. You're like, you are going to like block him from everything. You're gonna tell him you're over. We're just gonna hang out on. It was Valentine's Day. I broke up with him on Valentine's Day. You're like,
iconic.
You're like, we're just gonna hang out all day on Valentine's Day, and we're just gonna get over this. And you are not talking to him ever again. And if you want to talk to him, call me.
Yes.
And like, get out. Like, this is so bad for you.
Well, I think it was because the way that we met was through a mutual friend, Lacey, who is a very good friend of both of ours. Yep. Hi, Lacey. She listens to these. We love you. She did that to me when I went through a really shitty guy where she like moved out. She was like, bye, bitch. Like, I'm going to not be friends with you anymore. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that was the tough love I needed, but I had just gone through something like that. And so when I met you, I was kind of like, I need someone to hang out with too. Like, we both should just block these motherfuckers. And I remember I was like super into He's Just Not That Into You.
Yes.
And that movie, and it's a book, those rules were like fucking like treasure pieces for me. I was like, oh my God, he's just not that into me if he's not finding time to hang out with me. Like,
what?
Whoa. Like a guy will always make a priority to hang out with you if he likes you. Period.
Period.
It doesn't matter how shy he is. It
Yep.
doesn't matter whatever. He will DM you. He will send you memes. Like, he'll fucking find a way to hang out with you. And you were just with this guy who was just like, you're so hot.
Thank
Hello.
you.
In case anyone's watching this on youtube.com/Kelsey Darragh. And successful. And you've done so much. You're in the industry. You're doing stand-up. You're like, you have arms of a fucking goddess.
Oh, thank you.
I have an arm thing. My listeners know I have like this weird arm fetish. But like, to see you dating someone that was like, oh, and I try not to be judgmental about it. I think now looking back on it, I'm allowed to be like, gross,
oh my God, no, of course,
right?
of course. Well, and the thing about my book that's so funny is that, you know, you're saying he's just not that into you. It's like so black and white, but I do feel that there's other parts in dating where it's not black and white.
Totally.
And you
Most
can
of
make
it.
it work. And that's like, so my book is like, here's how you make long distance work, whatever. But this chapter, the toxic chapter, that's the one where it is black and white. It's like, if he's not treating you right, if he's not that into you, if he's making you feel terrible, get out, run.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times people think that they will never find something like that again.
Yeah.
But I was watching or reading a Modern Love piece, New York Times article or whatever, that was like, there will always be another person. Always. It might take time.
Well, for me, I went through 30 dates and now I'm dating someone who's amazing.
You are?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, spill the tea,
Oh
bitch.
my gosh, it's just crazy because I didn't think it was going to happen.
Oh my God. Okay, well, let's talk about I want to also say your book, 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s, is broken up into chapters of the different guys. So like, give us some examples of like the guys.
So it's less guys, it's more like relationship types. So I'm writing from the experience as a straight woman, but like I'm sure this relates to like any sex, any sexual orientation, whatever. So it's like the guy who's long distance, the long distance relationship, the guy who's better looking than you, the guy
rude,
right? The guy who's cooler than you.
Oh, rude.
The guy who ghosts, the guy who's a one night stand, the guy who texts you sup at 2 a.m.
So it's like shit you will go through in your 20s.
Or anytime you're single. But for me, it's from the perspective of your 20s.
That's
but,
amazing. So everyone go pre-order that.
Thanks.
Now let's talk about the 30 dates in 3 days, you psychopath.
Yes, I know.
What gave you this idea, and like, were you doing Adderall the entire time to stay awake?
I wish someone had some I could use, because that was like, my friends before it were worried. They're like, you're either going to get too drunk or like, or how did you stay awake the whole time?
Right.
And it really was to be on really more.
Right.
Like for that long. So, but
walk me through the process, because
Sure.
I'll link the article below, which everyone should go read. But this is more of a peek behind the curtain.
Behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So
Insider edition.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
That's also up there.
So basically what happened was that I had this idea. It was going to initially be 30 dates in 30 days, but my Cosmo editor was like, that's been done. And
has it?
Yeah. Like
okay.
you can, yeah.
Boring.
So, boring.
We need to amp it up. We need to spice it up a bit. What do you got? What's your next take on it?
Kind of as like a joke pitch. I was like, 30 dates in 3 days. And she was like, yeah,
perfect.
Can you do that?
And you were like, mathematically, you're sitting over there like if I schedule my hours.
10 dates a day.
10 fucking dates a day.
And I had a week to like line these up.
Oh my God. Okay. And I should preface this with like, you kind of do this for a living.
I do.
You're a writer.
I
you're
write
a
about
comedian.
dating for a living.
A lot of it is like love based. So like, was it as intimidating for you, a professional love dater, writer person, as you think like, you know, Midwestern homegirl who's
I think
not a date?
What was the most intimidating part for me was more of like, I love being honest with dates. Like that's how I am. So I did feel bad that I didn't, because I wanted to tell all of them to my editor. I was like, can I just tell them all what's going on? And she's like, my experience is when you do tell people,
they act differently.
Yeah. And we really want to see what it's really like.
But is it sneaky to do it the other way? Because having was it you that had told me about, like, you'd written about an ex before, but as long as you change the name.
Oh, it's fine. And I did. I changed all the guys' names.
Yeah.
All their faces are blurred.
Yeah.
Some even in the video, we like had different like stock images of guys because some guys I couldn't find their pictures because they blocked me. After. There were like 2 guys that like blocked me. Really, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so you're setting these dates up.
So setting these dates
mathematically, you're looking at your calendar. What's your like approach going into something psychotic like this? I can't get it. Like when I saw that, I was like, of course she did.
Yeah.
Of fucking course she did.
And what was so funny is as I was doing this, I was like updating my audience on my Instagram story.
I remember.
And my Instagram was private, so anyone who was matching with me couldn't find it. But people that were already my friends were like seeing as I was adding to the schedule. And I had this psychotic schedule that was like starting at 8 a.m. each day and ended at like 10 p.m. 10 dates a day was the goal.
Crazy.
Yeah. And
so 8 a.m., like we're talking like
breakfast,
coffee dates,
walks, Dave and Buster's. Do you still
I
love Dave and Buster's?
Oh my God, I can't believe you remember that about me. Wait, okay. Jared's gonna laugh so fucking hard when I tell him like the one thing you remember about me is my love
for Dave and Buster's. Or just any activities.
Oh my God. Gabby and our thing was like, okay, you can only go and drink at a bar and like stare and stand so much. My whole like little secret tip was like, get really good at bar sports because then when a guy's like, let me show you how to play pool, you're like, fuck off toxic masculinity and be like, I'm better than you at this thing.
Yeah.
And so I would force Gabby to like go to these dive bars and learn how to play like
pool and
darts,
like what was it? Not flip
shuffleboard,
all the stuff.
Oh my God, I'm still the exact same way.
Oh, good.
And David Buster specifically, I have like 7 power cards up in my closet in my drawer upstairs where it's like I probably I can easily buy the most expensive present thing at Dave & Buster's easily. But I want to keep going. Like I just want to see how many points I can rack up. Like I can get like 10 George Foreman girls right now if I wanted to.
Gosh.
But I'm I don't know what I'm saving up for.
Maybe they'll give you Dave & Buster's once you have enough cards.
I think that's how it works. Like I think they'll sponsor me for something. I've seen some of my like Instagram influencer friends get sponsored and I'm just like, motherfuckers.
It's so on brand for you.
But
you need it.
It's not a good thing because I'm putting money into fake things. I could buy a George Foreman grill right now for like $25 on Amazon. But it's about the activity. Okay, we've gone way too far.
Well, yeah, so one of my dates was at Dave & Buster's, which is a
jealous.
great first date because like if he treats or even if you split it, it's $20 for like an hour of games.
Yeah, and you don't have to like stare at each other. You can kind of like play around and
talk in between. So like
friendly competitions, flirty, sexy. That's where Jared and I's first kiss was.
Oh my God.
At Dave & Buster's, yeah.
My first kiss with my current boyfriend was playing darts that I beat him at.
Bitch, look at we have grown. You guys are seeing us at full circle growth. Congrats to us. Congrats to you. You beat him at darts.
Beat him at darts.
I'm so proud of the woman you've become.
Thanks to you. You've taught me well.
I'm taking all the credit for your love. No, okay. Back to the dates. So some of your dates were breakfast, Dave & Buster's. What's the weirdest date you think you got set up on? Because Dave & Buster's is pretty funny.
It's fun, yeah. There was a 8 a.m. hike that was only, I told him it could only be that after 30 minutes of the hike, we had to turn around.
Oh, because you had to go on the next date.
Because I had to go on another date, but he didn't know I had another date. I was like, oh, I have this meeting, but like I don't want to cancel on you.
Oh, so you're just lying.
I know. I would feel bad about that because currently when I normally date, I am being completely honest and transparent. Yeah. And I was honest about that. I was like, yeah, I write about dating. I have a book about dating. So for a guy not to be like a little suspicious.
No, like of course, if you're going to talk about you, which I'm hoping he's asking questions about you, he's got to get an idea of who you are. Yeah. And like this shouldn't come as a surprise.
And also my thinking was that the right guy would be okay with what I do. And that after I told him that I was doing this, because I was noticing that was a deal breaker with other dates I was doing prior to this.
Oh, really?
That the guy would be into it. And then I would kind of explain what I was doing. And then they're kind of like, well, I don't really think I'm the guy
Taylor
for
Swift
you.
Me.
Yeah, a lot of that. I don't think I'm the guy. I got dumped once doing a comedy after I was on stage doing stand-up. The guy came to the show and then he's like,
mistake number one.
Yeah, came to the show. No, first mistake. Came to the show, left after my set saying he was tired, and then sent me a long text message while I was still hosting the show, telling me that I wasn't for him. And
did you talk about?
Oh, of course I talked about it on stage.
Though?
When that happened, I was like, hey guys, this just happened. Read the text message, like everything.
Oh my God.
But I didn't talk about him. I just talk about stuff that about dating.
So he's just a scared little biatch.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I don't know. I feel like I never really talk to that many people that put as much of their life on the internet as I do. Like I always have to tell my therapist, like, I'm not a normal person. I do this to myself. Like I put myself out there for everyone to judge.
Yes.
You can literally find out. And like last week I talked about getting HPV and everyone was like, I can't believe you talked about that. I'm like, I can't keep it in. This is like my life. This is my career path.
And
like,
it's good that you do it because people relate and they connect. And I was and prior to this like experiment, I was doing this series called Daily Date where I was talking about before and after dates and how I was feeling. And people were like,
I remember that too on your Instagram.
Yeah, people were like, why are you doing this?
Follow Guy. Are you still private though?
No, I'm not. Now I'm open. Puppy. Now everyone knows. It's like, look at me. But yeah, so I mean, I think you should be open about what you're dealing with. And I would like, when things were upsetting me with dating and everything, I would just put it out there.
Because first dates specifically are the fucking worst.
They're the worst. But you could be doing them. Maybe it's just the way that people are doing the dates.
That's what I mean. Like, I think you're so important, and dare I say brave, for like doing this shit because it's normalizing this very big, scary thing. Like, I'm someone who ruminates. So like once I get a thought in my head, I can't get it out until my brain has solved it. My body has solved it, something. And so like a date or even a big meeting, right? Like I have a meeting tonight and I can't stop thinking about it until the meeting's over.
Right.
And then I'm analyzing. I'm self-critical. I'm like, did I say something weird? Did I bite my tongue? Like, did I step on my words? Does he think I'm smart? Does he think I'm... And it's also like an interview where you want to get all your accolades out.
Sure.
You want to be like, I'm on a TV show. I was in the Sundance program. I'm 5'9". Like, I work out 3 times a week. Like, there's no organic way to brag about yourself. Like...
Right. And that's for meetings, right? But even dates, because like dates... So basically, I figured out something. First of all, the first date, I think, should never be a dinner date.
Ooh, I like that.
I think it should be a coffee, even a walk. Like imagine just being like, hey, do you want to like go walk around this neighborhood?
Cute.
Because then you're organic. You're like you're focusing on walking, not tripping. Like you're not really like.
You don't have to look them directly in the eye. You're kind of looking ahead. You can do some side glances.
There's not the awkward silence. So I do think like doing something active. I also think keeping your first dates to an hour, which is what I had to do in this situation. But then I was like, oh, this is genius. And to tell your date before your date that you only want to give first dates an hour, because if it's not going well, you have an easy out. And if it is going well, then you look really cool being like, you know what, I'm just going to blow off my friend and let's keep hanging out.
Which to me is my favorite kind of date, is when like
you don't want it to end. So it allows you for it to not end, but also if you want it to end, you can make it end.
Because like I feel like me and you have done this before where we would like text each other or like call each other to save
check
each
in.
other.
Are you alive? Is everything okay?
Like, do you need me to fake a death or whatever? Because I don't know. It's like rejection is uncomfortable. Like the fact that you went on 30 dates in 3 days, you had to have experienced rejection. And those people, you probably also had to let people down.
Oh, I did. Because then they'd ask me out on second dates. So I had a handful of second dates and most of them were okay. And then after the second dates, I got asked on third dates and my heart wasn't in it. And I just had to be like, I just had to be honest. But I think we should be honest because then that eliminates ghosting. And
I think it's a thing of like self-preservation and also like, I don't know, if you're never going to see this person again, you don't want it to end sourly because especially in LA, you never know when you're going to like cross paths again.
It's too small of a town.
Yeah, and I'm sure like a lot of listeners who live in towns that aren't like fucking metropolis cities have a good chance of running into someone again.
Still small towns in a different way.
Yeah, still small towns in a different way. And so I think it's A, not wanting to come off as like an asshole, and B, like when do you know, right? Like how do you just not know if like you were having an off day or like, you know, is it instant chemistry? Like how did you grade these dates?
Well, you should know. I think it's within the first 4 minutes. We scientifically know if we're attracted to someone or not.
I definitely know if I want to fuck them.
If you want to fuck them.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes would know that right off the bat. And then sometimes I would still be like, well, maybe. And so that's kind of why I gave it a second chance. And actually like one of my best dates ended up moving to Boston. So maybe we would have had a third date. But I think it's for the best that it didn't work out.
Well, because now you have a boyfriend.
Now I have a boyfriend.
That you really like.
Yeah, that also. And we were saying having an off day. On our first date, he was on 3 hours of sleep.
Oh, is he a doctor?
No.
Oh, I was like, oh my God,
he's a doctor.
He saves lives.
He was just saving lives.
I have to imagine that's like a crazy date. I feel like a lot of doctors date other doctors or like people in medical fields because that's just an insane schedule.
Doctors that are not your own doctor? You have like friend doctors?
No, that's a good point. I'm purely going off of Grey's Anatomy.
You know, my friend Dr. Gray.
Yeah. McSteamy, McDreamy. Okay, so tell me a little bit about like the first day of dates. Like we don't have to go through all 30 dates,
I
but
can give you like a little highlight reel.
Yeah, give me a highlight reel.
Yeah. So the first date, I was actually a Thursday. So it started on a Friday. So Thursday night, I was hosting a comedy show, and I actually didn't have any dates planned until 3 p.m. on Friday. So I was freaking out.
Holy shit!
I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not going to meet the quotas.
Yeah, like you're starting way behind.
Way behind.
You're already losing.
Luckily, one of my friends who was at the show set me up on a breakfast date. So,
good.
So half of the dates were online, had no idea. The other half were through Instagram and friends setups.
Now, are you using Tinder, Bumble? Do you have a preference?
Yeah.
We could really go into
Tinder,
this.
Bumble, Hinge, the dating app I'm not supposed to say I'm on because I got kicked off because of this, but then I got back on.
I use it, but I don't get it.
It's not fun.
I don't get it.
It's not fun. It's
yeah.
not fun.
Wait, so you got kicked off of it because you wrote about it?
Oh, no. I got kicked off Raya because one of the guys that I went on a date with who asked me on a second date, and I told him about the article and said, even it was like, hey, you can read what I write about you before. He's like, I would wish that you wouldn't write about me. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll write that then.
And he reported you?
He reported me, and I never even said in the article that we met on Raya. I knew it was him because he was the only Raya date.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
What a dick.
What a dick.
He
hates women. He definitely hates women.
But I mean, like, here's the thing about Riot. It's like a celebrity, right? Like Amy Schumer and her ex-boyfriend met there. Like,
yeah, Ben Affleck's on it allegedly. Someone just texted me that today, and I'm like, okay, cool.
I have seen like B, C list celebrities on it before. But the creepy thing about it, I don't know if I should say creepy. The weird thing about it is that you can like see someone's location.
Oh, you can?
You can like enable your location and it pulls up like a map, like Grindr. And I can literally zoom in and like I know a friend of mine who's like a minor like YouTube celebrity. And I know where she lives because I've been to her house a million times. And I can see her in her apartment on this map.
No.
And I'm like, no one else would know. Like, clearly that's an apartment complex. She's in the apartment complex. And if you like were to go there every day and like see she's in the same spot every time, you would gather that that's her fucking apartment.
Okay, so you can do that, but you can't screenshot a profile. Raya. Interesting.
And I would like to talk to the person that runs Raya, just putting that in the universe. Anyways, okay, so you got reported to Raya. Yikes.
Yeah, yikes.
You're using Tinder, you're using JSwipe, you're using Friends.
No JSwipe. I have no JSwipe, sadly. I should have done JSwipe. But JSwipe, since I've been, it's kind of was a little slow, maybe because I was, but I haven't been on it in a beat. So I was doing all those apps. I will say I think my favorite dating app is Bumble. Which is how I met my boyfriend. That's how you met yours, right?
That's how I met mine too. Yeah. Success rate.
Because I think
women first.
Yeah, and I think that men really respect women on Bumble.
Yeah, on Tinder it's like
Tinder they don't. Tinder it's a hookup or it's like whatever,
hole,
or they're garbage people. And then I think Hinge is like too thirsty.
I don't know that I haven't been on Hinge in a hot minute, but what I remember about it is like it's supposed to be like a hinge away from a mutual friend, right?
It used to be that. Now I think it's less that. Now their whole tagline is it's the dating app you're supposed to delete, meaning that unlike other dating apps that want to keep you on it and keep you using the app, Hinge is pretending to say that they want you to delete it and get into a relationship. And then there's all this meme propaganda about Hinge that's like, that I can't even, like, I'm like, this is weird.
Oh my God.
I don't think it's that great of an app.
Isn't their whole thing that they use your Facebook friends and contacts to find mutual friends?
That's how it used to be years ago because you used to have a ton of mutual friends.
Right.
All of my Hinge dates recently
have been like
they're just randos.
Now let me ask you this about your dates.
Yeah.
Did you like the ones more that were friend recommendations or the total randos on?
I think the randos I like the randos better.
Really?
Because the friend recommendations, I think kind of like were a little bit like friend dates. You know? I think they were just doing it to be nice. And they
it's
were
like if your friend had a hot friend, they should have already set you up with
I think they felt like desperate and I think also if I only had a week to plan this. I think if I had a month, I think my results would have been a lot different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. First day.
So you're going to laugh. So I was supposed to, so I got set up with an 8 a.m. breakfast. Check.
God.
Meanwhile, I'm leaving my show and a Raya date we went on a date like 6 months, or we've been talking for 6 months. We went on a date 3 months ago. He lives in London.
Ooh, hot. I'm already on board.
Was in town.
Yes.
And so I wasn't expecting to start 30 dates with a booty call. And he's like, you can't tell people that this doesn't count. You can't. This literally doesn't count. I don't know. I can't do a British accent.
Doesn't count.
Yeah. He's like, don't do this. Don't write about me. Please don't. And I'm like, I won't. And then I was like, shit. I was like, I really need the number. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God. So was it weird going out on a date with a booty call?
I mean, I wasn't going to count it. And then I asked my editor. She's like, yeah, you can count it because it was technically midnight on Thursday, Friday.
That a girl.
And it was a booty. I started with the booty call, and I guess that's why the comments on YouTube are calling me a prostitute and a whore.
Well, this is the podcast where people are going to understand what you were doing and support and promote it. I think. Has anyone like rudely asked you about sleeping with them?
No, but I did. So I did Inside Edition, and if you want to laugh, read the YouTube comments on the Inside Edition video, and it's
These
just
fucking idiots.
They think everyone there thinks that I had sex with
all
30 people.
Uh-huh.
And not only did I have sex with them, I also got free meals.
Oh right! Oh my God!
That's how dates are, right? You get fed a free meal from a very expensive restaurant, then you have sex, and then you go on to the next.
So those
victim.
people didn't even fucking read the
it.
article.
No.
And I know you, and you are not the person to let someone buy you a meal unless they insist.
Well, so the funny thing is that hike date I was telling you about, he really wanted to take me out to a very fancy restaurant. And I insisted, and I would do this even if I wasn't doing an experiment.
Yeah.
I was like, let's do something. Let's make sure we like each other first.
Yeah.
So.
And yet, like, can I write this off?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So, I mean, because this is a podcast where we can talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you fuck any of them?
Well, so so the first guy, obviously, because it was a booty call, and we had hooked up before, so it would be weird if I didn't hook up with him.
Yeah,
like,
it would just be rude.
Weird. It'd be so rude.
He's all the way from London.
With that sexy accent.
Of
you know,
course.
what was I gonna do?
Tea and crumpets. Yeah.
So of course, and then it was so funny is all the other dates, none of them, and some of them I got to most were an hour, but some of them could go longer if I didn't have something right after. Yeah. And some of them were good, and I felt a connection, but I didn't make out with any of them.
Whoa,
Which
that's
is
a
weird.
big deal for girls like us.
Yes, I know.
I love a good kiss after
and there
a good
was
date.
a bunch of cuties in that I totally would have made out with.
Did you just like accept any trash bags because you needed the number?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, if I went on some bad dates.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they were. But I didn't go on dates with guys on dating apps that I thought were going to be terrible.
Yeah. Like you didn't like purposely pick a Trump supporter.
No,
like,
but I got a Trump supporter.
You did?
Date 3. We were sitting
Date 3?
We're sitting in West Hollywood.
Okay, I read the article and I'm not remembering.
I think I cut this part out of the article.
Oh my God.
So we're sitting in the middle of West Hollywood. And he goes on to
a very gay part of town,
across the street from Hamburger Mary's,
Great,
at that coffee
is the
shop.
Gayest part of town.
And he's going, yeah, I just don't get gay people. And he's like, that our tax dollars being spent on that rainbow flag. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Abort.
I know.
So how do you because you're talking about honesty? Are you sitting there going like, we're not gonna match, or are you going,
I'm just going to get me out of here.
Yeah.
And I did. That was so funny about that is that date I had a longer window, so I could have stayed longer. And I ended up just being like, I have to go.
Yeah.
And I never heard from him. So obviously either he read the article or what, or maybe but it was funny because
the article didn't come out till later. So these people had time to check back in and
the article actually pretty quickly came out.
It?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It came out like a week after.
Okay.
But also he didn't look like his photos, and then he looked at me like I didn't look like my photos. That was what was in the article and the video. And I was wearing the same dress that I wear in all my Instagram photos.
I know which one you're talking about. Okay, so third date is a fucking Trump supporter.
Third date's a
How
Trump
do you
supporter.
Find the strength to go on to the rest of your Friday?
Luckily, I had a little breather in between. Then I go to a happy hour at Electric Owl with a date.
I don't think I've been there.
Oh, you would like it. It's cute. It's like
I'm
very
sober
chic.
now.
No,
so
but you would like that. They have good breakfast. I had breakfast there.
Love that. Love that for me. Okay, great.
They have good food. So I was there, and I was on a date with a guy who actually had called me before, and we had a decent phone conversation before our date.
What kind of psychopath calls?
Well, I wrote an article at Cosmo about this, that it's a good idea to phone or video vet your dates. It'll save you a lot of time, and then you don't have to go on 30 dates in 3 days.
I like that. It's very alarming and maybe like gut bubbly in a good way, but I've had people that I've just been like chatting with who will FaceTime without warning.
Oh no, there's a warning and there's a plan.
That's psychotic.
You set it up and it almost feels like a first date, so then your first date feels like a second.
And I was going to say, I feel like that's a generational thing because our generation is like, well, I shouldn't say our generation, like our age group, we we got into FaceTime, whereas like these young kids who are like 20, they've
they
always had
That's
FaceTime.
I think how they make phone calls.
That's how they talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a like millennial Gen Z gap where we're like, what the fuck? We have all this social anxiety. Meanwhile, that's their like texting.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah. Well, we're same age. So like
Yeah.
I feel like another 30-year-old male might be like a little weird.
Yeah.
But the chick I was dating for a little bit would not stop drunk FaceTiming me. And so at like midnight every Friday, I knew to put my phone on like do not disturb because I was like, here it comes. Here it fucking comes. And it was sure enough, she would have like 5 2 a.m. FaceTimes. And I'm like, what psychopath FaceTime someone?
No,
I guess whatever. That's a really good idea.
If it's a plan though, and then because then also you can avoid leaving your apartment for a date that you feel like you don't feel a connection with.
Love that. You don't have to waste makeup and time and
then
money.
All the awkward stuff you were talking about, like how first dates feel so awkward, like job interviews, you don't know what to say. You've gotten those
and it's awkward anyway.
Yeah,
pleasantries.
I can talk. I can say the
No,
word.
but that's a good point. That like FaceTime is awkward anyway because it's like, how do you hold the phone? Do you like lay in bed and
Where
look
do
casual?
you look? What do you wear? Do you put a bra on? Do you put pants on? Like, I don't know.
No, I do my therapy, which is through my computer.
Yeah.
Naked. I put my covers up over my nipples and I lay in bed like a potato and I let the screen fold to like the most unattractive angle. And I love my therapist.
Yeah.
Hashtag BetterHelp, not sponsored. Well, they will spend. Anyway, okay. So we are talking about FaceTiming with dates.
So yeah, so we had talked on the phone before the date. The date, we sit down the date. He's very cute, very nice, but then wants to get into comedy and his jokes are a little racist. So I'm like, how did I go from the homophobic to the racist? Like, what universe is this the Twilight Zone?
You're getting them out of the way.
And then after that date ended, I had to leave to go literally across the street to Toy, which is this Thai restaurant, for a date with a guy who I actually dated in 2010, and
Holy
we rematched
shit,
on Bumble.
A
2010,
recycle. That's 9 years.
9 years. So, and apparently I invited him to a stand-up show back then. I was like, sounds like 2010, Gabi. That sounds right.
Yeah.
So I go across the street to the date with the other guy. We have Thai food, and then my next date was back at the same restaurant.
You're psychotic for like.
For doing that, I should have had him meet me at the Pikey up the street, but I didn't. And I was freaking out because the guy, after the date ended,
He didn't leave.
Oh my God. He went back into the bar.
What the fuck?
I know.
To day drink by himself on a Friday? Get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here. Go home. Or maybe he went to the bathroom, but I don't know. It looked like he was going back to the bar. And so when I met my other date there, I was running late. I tried to get him to go to another bar. He had his first. He's already had a drink.
Oh my God.
So I get there.
I'm panicking.
I'm panicking.
For you.
So the guy's not there, thank God. My date's there.
Crisis averted.
I order one drink. He then has 2 drinks, and then the bill comes and he insists that we split it, even though I had half a drink and he had 2 and the other half of my drink. But then we ended up going on a second date because he was really, really cute.
Oh, okay. Well, but that is interesting because I'm sober now.
Yeah.
And, Jared and I are in an open relationship. So we're like, it is interesting if you go out with people and they're drinking and you're not. This is even like an example for friends.
Right.
Like if you go out with friends, especially in LA, drinks are not cheap.
They're
like
not cheap.
$18 a fucking cocktail.
Yeah.
And it's always that awkward, like the proper thing to do, which like my friends are good about, is they'll say like, oh, we'll leave tip.
Yeah.
Like if you want to just split it down the middle, I'll leave tip. I feel like that guy could have at least offered
done that. Or just pay for the drinks.
Pay for the fucking drinks.
We're on a date.
Yeah.
Like what?
So, okay, you crisis averted.
Crisis averted.
Day 1 is coming to a close.
I had, and also, so dates would cancel too. So I had a date. So I had to go.
Oh, well, that's very like truthful.
And it would count. When that happens, that is just, I think I had 3 dates canceled.
What was the closest to the time of the date that someone canceled?
It was the guy after the cheap date. So cheap date, then I had to go to the Roosevelt to meet another guy for a date.
Place.
Great place.
Yeah.
Sat by the pool.
We've been there a lot of times.
A lot of times.
Oh my God,
So
we
many
had so
times.
many
So much
memories.
fun.
If we could talk, I was gonna say if our like the fly on the wall could talk. No, like if we could talk about all the fucking crazy shit we have done.
It's such crazy
What
shit.
was wrong with us?
I think we were just in our 20s.
Just like the
living our best lives.
Oh my God. Okay. So you go to the Roosevelt.
Go to the Roosevelt for tea.
Cute.
And the guy, he says something about how you can't date someone who talks about their exes. And I'm like, that's literally all I do.
So
bye. But I was in the bathroom checking on my next date that was supposed to be at Jones. And when I got to the bathroom, he sent me a text canceling. And that was like a 10 minutes before I was supposed to meet him.
Oh, okay. What do you think is, as like a dating expert, what is the appropriate amount of time and excuse to let someone cancel on you where you would still go out with them again? Like if they're a doctor, let's say, and they have to save a patient.
They're a doctor. They
that's
have
a good
to save
excuse.
a patient. I think you should. I honestly think that canceling, and I think that if this goes back to the whole "he's not that into you" thing. I think if a date cancels on you and doesn't give you any notice, like the 10-minute notice, there's no need for a second date, or because this guy never ended up reaching out, and neither did I.
So he just doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He doesn't respect your
lack
time.
Of,
So it's not worth it. A guy, what he should have done, if someone cancels on you, it should be, there's a legit excuse. I'm so sorry. And then they should offer another date another time.
Immediately.
And if they don't do that, then bye.
I had a guy cancel a date like within the hour of going on it because a family member died.
Okay, that's a legit excuse. There was no excuse with this one. He was just
But then like the guy was like, okay, here, like I'm going to follow up with you. And I was like, great. And then he didn't. And then I was like, well, maybe he's mourning. And then like a week later, I was like, all right, if he's still mourning. Yeah. And then I found myself being like such an asshole. Like, how long does it take to mourn like an uncle, right? Like versus like if it's your dad. Like,
or did someone really die?
Or did someone
We'll never
really
know.
die?
Did you
We'll
ever go on a
know.
date with him?
No.
Yeah, you'll never know.
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
Okay, so end of day one.
End of day one, I got home
exhausted?
at like midnight.
Are you writing?
I am. So I'm recording myself the whole time so I could remember.
Ah, wow.
So video and also audio of like kind of just like checking in.
Wait, so you're recording video? I haven't seen the video yet. Are you telling the guys that this is what it is?
No.
Or how are you getting away with that?
I'm recording the video as I'm leaving or going to dates.
Ah, okay.
So sometimes I can't do it, like the whole like Thai food double bar
That
thing.
was like
that was impossible.
Yeah.
But I'm always like doing that, or I'm recording audio just to keep myself in check, so I know.
Yeah.
And then 2 of the dates I recorded video on the date because they were friends
cool.
and they knew what was going on.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I was doing that. I get home, I pass out, and then the next morning I was supposed to have a coffee date at 9, and the guy asked me if I could meet him earlier.
Then 9 on a Saturday? First of all, LA doesn't even fucking wake up until
he's
11
like, I'm
on
running
the
early.
weekend.
There's construction going on outside. Can we meet now? And I'm like, oh, fine. Because I didn't want him to cancel. I wanted to like actually go on the date. So we
Now,
go.
are you doing like full glam?
Oh yeah, full
Oh,
face, full
my
face.
God.
So I would start with like a full face, full glam, full everything, and then if I had dates back to back to back to back, there you would see like my makeup coming off. I'm like,
You know what
sweaty.
like fixes that though? Lipstick. Like any kind of refreshing, like just a refresh of lipstick
refresher,
will distract from.
And dry shampoo. I should have carried dry shampoo and lipstick on me and maybe some concealer, but I didn't, and I would just keep going. And then so like midday Saturday, I had gone to Dave & Buster's, and I didn't realize that the timing of going from Dave & Buster's on all the way Hollywood Highland and then going to this like chocolate place on like Sunset and Curzon, the John Kelly's chocolate, to meet a date.
I know what you're talking about.
We're like too far away from each other, even though they are in the same area.
Yeah. Well,
So
LA, it's like you were doing pretty bold thing by driving around.
Well,
so
I was
much.
walking. I walked everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So I was very sweaty when I arrived to that date, and my hair was in a ponytail. And the guy was very sweet, but I found out he was recently divorced, and I had just dated a guy who was recently divorced. And it's not really where I was at as a recently single person in my life to deal with. So that didn't work out.
Yeah, and like I think that's a preference. Like some people I know like dating people that are divorced because it shows that they had like
The ability to commit. I noticed that at least the guy that I like dated for a month who was recently divorced, that they treat you like a girlfriend immediately, but they don't want that. But that's just what they're used to doing.
Ooh.
And so you just have to be on the same page and make sure you guys.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Because now I'm thinking about like how do I treat people that I first start dating? I'm someone I feel like I get really like lustful very quick.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't know. Do you remember like some of those guys I dated?
Yeah, you would get really excited.
I'd get really excited, like very I'm a Leo double Gemini, so it's like my emotions were on my sleeve. I couldn't contain it, and then like I would be more heartbroken over a guy that I dated for a week saying that like it wasn't gonna work than a guy I dated for 8 months, like a true heartbreak. Because I think analytically and logically I was able to like prepare for it. I was able to like go through the motions of it, but something where it was just like someone just wasn't interested in me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you. I relate to that a lot because I'm the same way that I fall in love very fast or lust or whatever. And then when they like let you down, you're like, wait, what? I'm great.
I'm the one who knocks.
Yeah. Who gets to decide if I don't like this relationship, not you.
Yeah. Okay. So we're day 2 now.
Day 2. So day 2 ends. The last date on day 2 was actually with the guy who reported me on Raya. And it was actually a nice date.
Yeah.
And I think that what had happened, and I think why he got so upset is he really opened up to me because I have a tendency of getting that out of people. But I opened up to him and I was telling him everything about my life. And I feel like maybe this is me being a narcissist that he left that date being like, oh my God, I just met my future wife. And
and you were like, I got
Great
another
therapy
part of
session.
my article. Like,
well, no, I was actually more like great therapy session. I did have those problems with my mom. So happy I talked to a total stranger about that.
What did that guy do for a living?
Also a writer, so I thought he'd understand.
Well, I feel like writers are also a little bit like snarky, like guarded a little bit. So the fact that you got him to be vulnerable was
maybe
interesting.
And then I ended up having a phone call date after that because I was trying to meet up with a guy.
I love this phone call date
that I met on Bumble. I went to go get frozen yogurt, treated myself after the
That a
date.
girl.
And then I was just home and I was like maybe gonna meet up with this guy, but he decided not to. But he called me and we talked on the phone. And we actually like kept on trying to meet up for like a solid month or two, but never met up, which is another red flag. I think if they don't meet up with you, just
after
let
a
it
month
be.
is insane.
Yeah.
It just means like the universe stars aren't aligned.
Well, he finally said something like, I don't think I'm ready to date. And I'm like, great.
Oh, there it is.
Get off the apps then.
Yeah. Holy shit. Stop wasting my fucking time.
Yeah. The apps. You should be on the apps if you're ready to actually meet up with people. Don't go on it just for pen pals. That's not fun for anyone.
So day 3 now.
Day 3 was started with a hike.
Okay.
So it had that 8:30 a.m. hike with this guy who gave me homework before the hike.
What?
And wanted me to list like my top 10 favorite movies by category.
Oh, I remember reading about this.
Yes.
Goodbye.
And then he got really upset. The article came out. I got like this message from him that was like, my friends, and I don't think he had a lot of friends. My friends all warned me about you.
What?
I knew you would do something like this. Don't treat men like lab rats.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, don't give dates homework. We both
also,
messed up.
like the fact that like these people have their names changed, they have their occupant, like there's no identifying factors in any bits of the article.
And he was someone that I also didn't have a picture for in the video because I couldn't find him because he blocked me and his last name was spelt weird.
I think they're using the excuse of like, how could you use me as a lab rat and expose me as I'm burned because you wrote a very truthful, hurtful thing in the article about me.
Before the article came out, he asked me out on a second date.
Oh,
and I was like, maybe I
very
should.
telling.
Yeah. So I think a lot of these guys, they just got butthurt, which
So,
I get.
yeah, which like sure. I think if you're treating the experiment as that, an experiment, someone could feel like, oh man, like I thought I was establishing a genuine connection, but I know you, like you're not.
It was less of an experiment for me. It was more of a challenge. It was more of a way to get myself back out there after my devastating breakup. I mean, like a couple of months ago, I was living in New York. I thought I had found my happily ever after, found out it wasn't right. So like the whole reason of why I was going on all these dates was to get myself back out there. And it ended up working in like a very backwards, unexpected way months later.
Well, I want to hear now about like how it ended, how the boyfriend came out.
So it ended. So let's see. So Sunday there was like a bunch. So there was a bunch more dates. Like they kind of all blend together.
Right.
Like just like, I don't know. And then I ended up going on. There were some good ones. There was the second to last date we had like an amazing textual connection.
Ooh, I love that.
And in person, he looked like his photos, but his energy was like, do you ever meet someone and their energy is just off?
Yes. And the good texting game is a fucking skill that can be learned. It can be learned. Yeah. So you got to watch out for good texters.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So his energy was totally off. We ended up going on a second date. And I've joked on the shows, but I'll tell you, like this literally happened that we were at the Pikey and there was an earthquake.
Oh my God. Trauma bonding.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, I thought I felt something, but it was just an earthquake. There was no connection. So we didn't go on a third date. And then the very last date was with a guy. And I think that this was because I was just, and I had, on this last date, I had 2 other dates lined up.
Oh, wow.
I ended up canceling because this date with this guy ended up lasting for like 6 hours.
Holy shit.
And
the last date?
Last date.
So are you like, what, an ending? Or are you like,
I was like, what an ending. But I also wonder if I would have, like, was it that all the dates I had been on had ended up being this like never ending like pregame of dating. And like, and then finally, like I just, all that emotion, all that like repression just kind of like showered onto this guy who also was like very, very cute.
Yeah.
And we ended up dating for a bit and then he disappeared.
Oh.
But I think it was because like also because I was like writing about this and it was becoming out there that he was like the last one. He's Johnny in the article.
But like he should be flattered, no? That he was a success?
Yeah, I think so. But I think he's not like really like a public person. But also there were so many things that were just not, we weren't compatible. Okay. I think we just were attracted to each other and that was it.
Sometimes that's all it's meant to be.
And that's all it is. Yeah, I think with this experiment I learned that, you know, sometimes accept relationships for what they are. Sometimes
that's what I was going to ask. What did you learn?
That's it. That, you know, sometimes a relationship is just a trip to Dave and Buster's. Sometimes it's like, you know, hanging out 2 nights and then that's it. And I think, you know, and going back to he's not that into you. If a guy, it's the whole thing about, there's also like a meme about this. It's so obvious. When someone likes you, you'll know. Yes. When you're confused, there's your answer. And so with all of this, I think it was that, I knew the guys that wanted to hang out again. And then I didn't really feel it. So I wanted to be fair to them and told them no. And then, the ones that I was confused about, there was my answer. The last guy.
Did you ever run into sexual attraction was good, but like, you know, when you're like sexually attracted to someone, but you know, you don't really want to date them, but you kind of just want to have sex with them?
That was the last guy.
So, okay. So you were like, that wasn't off the table.
That wasn't off the table. And that was the last guy. And, you know, to be honest, at that point, I was open to just a booty call, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, he doesn't, well, if he's not reaching out, like what an unreliable booty call. Why would I?
You're defeating the purpose.
The booty calls are supposed to be efficient.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So how did boyfriend come into play?
So boyfriend came into play just like, it was so random and so unexpected, but I was like on all these apps and I was just kind of like still like checking in on them, still like being like, what's up? And
what's up? Do you hate
like,
me? Am I blocked?
Yeah, like is this like am I still active on Bumble? Great.
Yeah.
And I forget like how we had matched. I was in a lot of situationships after, so I'd date a guy for like a week or something. It wouldn't work out. So I had just gotten fresh out of a situationship, and I was on Bumble on a Sunday night, and I matched with this guy who I actually first did not swiped left on, and then was like, wait, he was kind of cute, and like swiped back.
Okay, because it was just like a thumb error.
Yeah, because he didn't have really good pictures, which is another theory I learned. Do trust the guy who doesn't have the most flattering pictures, but you can see is cute.
Yeah. Or like fucking put your Instagram in your handle, you psychopath.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I didn't for a while because I didn't want people to see.
You had a reason to. But like the only reason I swiped right on Jared was because he had his Instagram.
Oh, you could see what he looked like.
And I could see what he really looked like because he had like DJ pictures.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, is this just like an act, literally? Or are you this hot?
Yeah.
He was that hot.
Well, yeah. So I could see that this guy was like cute, but like, so I ended up swiping right. And and then also our conversation was not that good either. He was like, he's like, I just got back from Vegas. I just went to this EDM thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy sounds like the worst.
And what kept you talking to him?
Is that he asked me out. And I was like, you know what? And I think I was at this point where I learned from the 30 dates. It's like, even if you're not like, I thought he was cute. And I was like, and he didn't work in the entertainment industry, which I think was like something that I was like, I should stop dating guys that are in direct competition with me.
Or that like you can never separate work and that it'll just roll over all the time.
So I was like, you know what? Let me go on a date with the guy that I've never been on a date with. Like I've never really been on a date with a guy who doesn't work in the entertainment industry. So I was like, let's see what happens.
Don't knock until you try it.
And so we end up going on our first date, and he's very cute in person. Like
I
very
can't wait
cute,
to see pics.
very cute. But our chemistry is a little off. And I found out it was because he was coming off of 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so I would ask him these questions and he would just respond and then not ask me a question back.
And you're like, bitch, what the fuck?
I know. So I go to the bathroom and I text my best friend. I'm like, he's so cute, but he's so boring. And like... And then I come back and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna say what I need to say. Like I'm just gonna like be me.
Say.
Yeah, exactly. John Mayer.
You are obsessed with John Mayer. You approached him at a bar once. I'll never
were there.
forget that. I will never.
I gave him my number. He didn't ask for it. He never texted me.
You gave John Mayer your number. That is the crazy thing.
The craziest thing.
And you're like next level obsessed with John. Are you still?
No, I'm obsessed with his music. I really like his music a lot. I love seeing him in concert.
And remember we were at like the Ace downtown. Yeah. Why was he there?
For like a movie or something?
But like,
or he was just there, or he was just
and
there.
It was crazy that we were also there.
We were there,
and we were saying like, this is your chance.
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna just run into him again.
And that was it. So it was not meant to be.
I forgot.
Also,
and
don't meet or date your heroes, I'm pretty sure.
100%. Okay, so you're having awful chemistry with your boyfriend.
So I go and I text my best friend. I'm like, he's terrible. I'm going to leave. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me. So I go up. So I come back to the drink. He's like, so I come back to the bar and he's sitting there and I'm like, you know what? Honestly, like if you don't start asking me questions about myself, I'm leaving after this round. And this was the first round. And like all of a sudden he was like, whoa. Like he just like kind of like saw who I was, right. And that just like somehow lifted the awkwardness, lifted like woke him up.
I think most guys would think that that's a cunty thing to say. The right guy will realize,
because that's how I realized I could go both ways. He could either be
guys will be like, oh, what the fuck, you're so full of yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm the same exact way.
He could either have been like, fuck you, and then I would have known. But instead, he was like, he got me, and that's like the instant I knew he got me. And that date that could have just been just drinks ended up lasting for hours.
My favorite kind.
Where like time stood still and we just kept hanging up. We played darts next door and we closed down the pikey. But it wasn't like, and the other thing too I noticed is that it wasn't that we were like drinking, which is another thing that usually bonds me on dates. We were just like, we were going and we were like sometimes just sitting and just talking and like sharing drinks. And like, it was just like.
That's my favorite feeling in the fucking world. Yeah. Like in the beginning, like if you're not getting a UTI from how much sex you're having with this person, you're not dating the right person. Like you should be fucking just every free minute you get. That is my favorite part of the relationship is where you're like, I don't know, I'm not nervous, I'm just excited, I don't know what to say, but I don't want to like leave your side. I just want to like.
And that's what what ended up happening is we went on 3 dates in 3 days.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so we hung out that night, then he came and met my friends the next night, and then he took me out to dinner and I met his friends the next night, and then he came over. I was going to New York, he came to my place to watch Bachelor in Paradise with me.
Oh my god.
And like brought me like ice cream and wine while I was packing. And then when I came back to and talked to me the whole time I was in New York.
That's important.
Which was important. And like even called me. And then when I came back, we just like kept dating. And then like a month into dating, he's like, yeah, can I be your boyfriend? I was like,
can I be your boyfriend is the greatest way to ask someone.
I was like, I was not expecting this. Because I was so used to like dating guys and like it not working out
and
for
you never
X,
know
Y,
where
and
it
Z.
goes. Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting it, but I really think we would have never met each other if I never had like just kind of like went on all these dates.
I love that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see his picture.
Yeah, I'll show
I
it to
can't
you.
do that until this is over because we can't expose his identity.
No, we can't expose his identity.
Because we've already learned our lessons about that. But let's give like, if you could give one piece of advice to, there's an emergency.
Oh my gosh.
Goodbye. If you could give one piece of advice to our listeners, people that are terrified of first dates the same way I am, but are excited about the possibility of love, what advice would you give them?
Okay, I think it's like the everybody poops, right? like they're just as nervous as you.
Aww.
So I think be honest. Like feel like if you're not feeling it, tell them because like who knows? It gives an opportunity. If the vibe is wrong at where you're meeting, be like, let's go for a walk. Like don't feel like you're so stuck and you have to like ask the classic like don't ask what they do for fun. Ask more telling questions. Like one of my favorite questions to ask is like, if there was a jukebox right here, what song would you put on?
Cute. And if they say John Mayer, you're like jacking them off under the table.
No, it's more like if they say a song that because it tells about what their music taste. It tells how like their mood, how self-aware they are, stuff like that. So I think like or even like what podcast are you listening to?
Oh, that's a huge one for me.
What was the last show you binged? What's the last movie you saw?
Because where's the last time you went to the theater would be one for me.
No, but seriously, because these are all things that I think are more revealing in what someone's personality and taste is like.
Totally.
What was the last trip you took? Where did you go?
I love that question.
Because what do you do for fun? It's like what?
Ugh. Like I don't fucking masturbate. Like I don't have time for fun. I have time.
Like, yeah, right. Especially when you're like you're working all the time.
Yeah.
So I think don't be nervous. They're just as nervous as you are.
Love those questions.
Be honest. Like ask the right questions. Have fun. Set an hour to a date. Have a heart out because if you don't like it, you should be able to leave, and that might alleviate your stress.
Yes, it's like an hour. You can do an hour of anything.
I can leave an hour. I can leave after an hour.
Gabi Conti, this has been so wonderful, so helpful.
Oh, good. I hope
and so entertaining. I still think you're a psychopath, but I'm glad you're in love at least. Or
no, not there yet. We're not there yet.
I'm glad you're in a healthy, happy.
It's new and it's fresh. It's only been a month
fun,
or
fresh,
so.
and flirty.
Yeah.
Would you advise anyone to go on 30 dates in 30 days?
No, don't. Because that made sense for me because of the 10,000 hours worth of dates I did in my 20s. So it was a way to speed that up. I was a pro.
So don't do this.
Don't do that. But do challenge yourself. If you're going on 0 dates a week, go on 1 date a week.
Cute. Yeah. And that's a challenge.
Make your own challenges.
There you go. That's a beautiful thing to end on. Gabi, Where can people find you? Because everyone should go read all your Cosmo stuff. You should pre-order the book, yada,
Yeah,
yada, yada.
so I contribute to Cosmo pretty much weekly. So you can find me on Cosmo, Instagram at It's Gabi Conti, ITSGABICONTI, and then my pre-order my book, which is on my Instagram.
Which is a link. And
or
also,
link right
can I put
there.
the cover right here?
Yes, you can.
It's a really cute book too.
Thank you.
I like your book because it reminds me of the one I'm writing, where it's like interactive.
Well, which
too.
is because who reads?
Who reads? See you next time. Bye, confidants.